911. What are you reporting? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
So, welcome back, Robbie Banfitch, to Horror Queen Interviews with myself, Miss Taint, and me, Sélah. So, I know in our last chat, maybe about a week ago, because I grew out new hair and I, colored it and everything like that.
Flies by.
Yeah, time does fly by. We were kind of just chatting about, questions about the film, The Outwaters. You mentioned your new film coming out, Tinsman Road. So we're going to talk about drag for a little bit. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so when was your first drag show?
I must have been in college.
Okay.
When I was going to School of Visual Arts in New York City. It's called Lips, which is a dinner place with a drag show. That could have been my first. I feel like that's the first one I remember. And I think I came out to my friend Erin at that dinner. And then I stole a bottle of grape soda from the basement of the restaurant. That's my memory.
I love that. I did that plenty of times, like working at shows. They usually, like when I first started off, they usually had us change and get ready in like the janitor's closet. So it was like
Oh,
super hot, no AC, no nothing, but there was hella inventory, and I was always just putting shit in my bag.
a
But
bottle of
yeah,
grape soda and
Selah's
come.
pretty new at drag. Selah's only been doing drag for maybe about, I don't know, like 6 months, 6 months.
Around, give or take.
Yeah, we kind of went through something crazy. I think I mentioned to you about my best friend passing, who was also
Mhm.
their fiance.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
They were in my drag house and stuff. So when they passed, Selah felt like they should start doing drag to kind of honor them. And also because they were left with a lot of their drag stuff too.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like, I mean, when somebody dies, you have your stuff, their stuff, but I also had a third person's stuff, like this whole drag persona. It was like, and I was like, well, I can't let it go to waste.
Wig in a box.
Exactly.
Yeah, that. So, what we do here in San Antonio, we pretty much are, it's San Antonio's premier BIPOC alternative drag troupe. So we do like kind of like stray away a little bit from the traditional style of drag that San Antonio is kind of known for, which is like a lot of pageantry. We have a lot of title holders, Texas pageant winners. Like Texas has crazy drag,
Hmm.
definitely. But
This
yeah.
drag I ever saw was in Sydney, Australia. I remember when I went to the shows there, I was like, whoa. I don't remember why, but I mean, I was also very drunk.
Yeah, they're on a whole nother level across the seas, definitely. They drag is like kind of different everywhere, but we try to make it as open and have all sorts of representation here where we're at. We're kind of under fire right now. The Texas legislature just passed some bills. I've been kind of talking about them on my Instagram, where basically they're trying to classify drag performances as adult sexual performances.
Hmm.
So basically, in the same terms as like strippers or burlesque artists, and basically, if these bills get passed as laws, like they're gonna fine us like $10,000 or something like that if we're out in drag performing in public. So it kind of like affects like,
Business,
yeah,
money,
pride shows. We're not gonna have
fun.
like drag queens at pride festivals anymore and stuff like that. So
So
Texas
it'll
kind of sucks.
actually, so it'll actually prevent people from doing drag at like the gay bar for real. Like that's what will happen.
I'm not too sure about the gay bars. I think it's just like under for minors. So like we're not gonna have drag queens at Pride festivals anymore. Like we have our Pride festival every year at a park downtown. And yeah, I'm just like, how does that even make sense? Because drag is literally a staple of queer liberation and self-expression and stuff. So you kind of take off the drag queens from a whole Pride festival, and that leaves you with just a bunch of gays meeting up.
But
It'll
my
be hard to
question,
imagine a pride festival without drag queens.
Weird, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
my question was the same though. I think it has to do with licensing. Like, they're only going to allow drag in the bars that have the license for it,
Mhm.
almost like they would do a strip club.
Or,
Like, I
mhm.
mean, I don't know where it works in other states, but I know like in Texas, you have to have a certain license.
It's like really a pain in the ass with all the legal shit, but just like really try to read everything. I assume you are.
Texas is really crazy right now with its anti-LGBT bills being passed.
I'm sorry.
Where are you based from?
I'm in LA, so things are pretty,
Open over there.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Texas is on one right now.
The biggest drama going on here is like Vanderpump Rules, Tom shit.
We love to
Yeah.
hear it. Is there any advice that you would give to future or aspiring filmmakers that are working with a small budget and their close friends?
Yeah, tons. So I've made 3 features in the past few years, in my on my own with really no money. Like really, I was working at a nonprofit. I had to pay $600 a month in student loans and then my rent and then food. Like I really didn't have I have no savings. So what my first piece of advice would be is think of a story that fits whatever camera you're going to use. Tinsman Road to me I only wanted to tell that with this shitty old mini DV camera I had. So that was around that camera. And then the 2 other movies, including Outwaters, are my Canon 70D, which is a consumer camera. I only had to save up for a little bit to get it. And I just, like actually seriously consider the resources you have and build your story from the resources you have. So that it's not like you're trying to go make this big thing and then you don't actually have the resources for it. So it comes out kind of half-assed, which is, everything that's in the Outwaters is what I want. Like there's nothing that's not in the Outwaters because I couldn't, get it or afford it. I wrote the whole movie based on like what I had. But it's easy to like come up with this grand story and then like kind of get ahead of yourself and you don't actually have the shit to do it right. So just start there. I mean, you could think of like that movie Once, that musical. That movie's filmed on like some kind of digital thing. It doesn't look pretty or anything. It's very kind of cheap looking, but because the songs and the story are so like wonderful and intimate, it totally works. So just think of your resources first. And you really don't need that much money, like seriously.
You just have to have a bunch of hot friends.
What I would say as far as friends go is make sure you work with people that you really can trust. You just really have to trust the people that you're working with, especially when you're doing it like from scratch, and work with people that like you can be honest with. Because you don't want to wind up like putting a friend in a movie and then they kind of suck, but you're afraid to like tell them.
Exactly.
And that's why it's good to do if you're starting out like I did, I had as much time as I needed because I didn't have like a deadline or producers, and it really didn't cost that much. I just made it little by little, and and then you can keep making it until it's good. Like I reshot plenty of stuff because I didn't think it was good enough because I had the time. It didn't really cost much money, but I planned for that. You know what I mean? So make sure if you put your friends in your movies, you're not afraid to tell them that sucked. Let's do it again and try it this way. I mean, honestly, like you can have the shittiest camera, but if you get good acting, like it really doesn't matter.
Well, so I saw actually the short films before I saw the feature film of the Outwaters. And so it made me very curious what the feature film was. And I watched it with my mother not too long ago, maybe like a week or so ago. And I already knew kind of what to expect, seeing Miss Taint's review, we talked about it. My mother was traumatized. She was like, she said, I didn't like the Blair Witch Project and I didn't like this. That's what she said. There was parts where I could tell she wanted to look away, but she was so intrigued. Yeah, like when they were running and then the spotlight is so small, you can't really explain it too much because then it takes away that kind of like mystery, that essence of it. But I was very curious. I loved that, I love the whole like premise.
I love that we're showing our moms this film, just traumatizing them.
Our traumatized mothers.
Happy Mother's Day.
Yeah,
right. I'm like, this makes up for the rest of my life where I was traumatized.
Okay.
That's it. You could use the Outwaters to just traumatize your parents after you've been traumatized.
Right.
I know you do a lot of poetry. I've seen you post a lot of your short poems on Twitter. Did you get some of your ideas for your films through your poetry that you've written in the past, or vice versa? I know one of my favorite lines from the Outwaters is when you hit your head with the axe and you say that the sky opened up and my head is raining.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. There's only one movie I made that was kind of, I think it was based on a poem I wrote. When I was in high school, I made this movie called Beyond the Shutters, which was a black and white, like 15-minute, I guess it's horror, kind of fucked up movie about this girl that gets abducted and held in this guy's basement. And it's just like the nightmare of being captive in a basement.
What is it
Like
called?
Beyond the Shutters, which is kind of a lame title now. I'm a little older, but I was like a teenager. But it was called Beyond the Shutters, and it was based on this poem that I wrote called Beyond the Shutters. And the poem was inspired by the Tool song Sober. And the lyrics to the words of my poem were like real disturbing, even though I wasn't actually like, I really didn't experience much trauma as a child, but I was like very creative. I loved horror movies, so it was very disturbing. I got called into the principal's office, rightly so. Because I mean, I look at that now, like I looked at it recently, and I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like if I were this kid's teacher, I would be afraid, like for himself, not like suicidal type of stuff, because the poem is very dark and suicide. But yeah, but the only movie I remember is that one, Beyond the Shutters. And that's the movie that I used to enter, like to get into, to apply to film school for college. I'll get that online someday. And it's also once again Nancy, who's the voice of the flight attendant in the Outwaters. She played the girl that gets abducted. My dad played the abductor. It was all filmed in Manville, New Jersey, my hometown. Appropriate for how much dick I suck.
I love that.
No, it's, and actually drag queen story I just thought of. My last encounter, I was at the Alamo Draft House in LA to do a Q&A for the Outwaters, but I was waiting at the bar for the movie to play because I didn't want to like sit through it again. And there was drag bingo going on. She like pointed me out and started like, what do you call it when you make fun of someone in the audience? What's the word?
Reading the film.
She read me as like a straight like hick person.
Oh, I love that for you.
Like MAGA. She read me as like a, I think it's just because I was wearing like a trucker hat. I was just like sitting at the bar drinking like
Very butch.
yeah. But I was like, I suck dick, girl.
She's
So
like,
that was
"What?"
my last
Encounter with a drag
at
queen.
the Alamo, the Outwaters. So makes sense.
Well, you're giving us trade today.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, okay, the scruff and the taint.
Bandana.
Well, this is the daddy's bandana from the Outwaters that I give my brother. Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, I'm trying to get some props for you. There's that axe.
I noticed that.
Oh my gosh, you have the axe.
Yeah.
Can we see it?
Oh, ooh.
Can we see it?
Can we see it? Yeah. Oh my god.
I live
Wow.
all rusty.
Uh-huh. Where did you get that
Still-
from? Have you had it for a long time?
Yeah, it still has some dried blood and sand and mud on it. I got it at a antique store, a big antique store in the South during college. I think I was in Virginia, and they had all kinds of shit. And I got this, and like, this will be good for a movie one day.
Oh. And here we are.
I literally bought it. I'm like, this will be like good for a movie I make one day. So it's been in a few things before the Outwaters that I made. I'm afraid of that falling. It's been in I had this series on YouTube called Seance, which was like kind of between two ferns type of stuff, but with me as like a asshole psychic, like giving people psychic readings, but really rudely. And there was a whole episode
to check that out.
starts off with it. Yeah, I'll send you the one with the that the whole opening features this axe. And then it was also in this short film I made before I started making my features again in like 2015 called Advent, which is online. It's like a silent black and white short film, and that axe is in that too. So it's not a virgin axe. But it's like actually an antique. I wonder like what it was used for like back in the day.
Just being passed from like story to story.
And I'm trying to think of a I want to pick a prop to raise money to give to Rainbow Railroad.
What is the Rainbow Railroad?
So an organization?
Yeah, and they get people out of different countries, like queer people out of different countries, like Russia and stuff like that, to get them to countries where they can start over and not be like murdered or tortured. So I want to pick an item like from the movie to like auction and then give the proceeds to that. That's like my thing. I was gonna see if Kyle from Skinnamarink wanted to do the same.
Y'all are friends, obviously. I've
Yes,
seen
I
y'all
love-
interact with each other on Twitter.
I
Good
love
night,
Kyle.
Skinnamarink.
We became friends on Twitter like months before our movies came out, and then we kind of went through the same exact experience, pretty much. Just like he went through it first. Outwaters got more attention because Kyle kept talking about it and in his interviews and tweeting about it. So I owe a lot to him. Just like the movie owes a lot to him as for just like kind of talking about it. But yeah, no, Kyle, I know, but I finally got to meet him a couple months ago in LA. It was fun.
Yeah, Skinnamarink, that was terrifying to me. I saw that one in the theaters, also with Tarantino, and my biggest fear is the dark. So that film just did something to me. I was not able to sleep for like 3 days after that.
Yeah, I loved it. I was a little nervous because he had seen Outwaters and liked it, and we had to interview each other for the New York Times, and so I hadn't seen Skinnamarink yet, and I was like, fuck, what if I don't like it? You know? But I loved it. Like I loved it. So it worked out.
It's cool that, two queer directors literally put out such memorable, fucked up films, with themes that are so horrifying, honestly. Like kind of like I saw Skinnamarink in January, and then like 3 weeks later I was able to see the Outwaters, and I was just like, this is like queer horror fanatic heaven for me right now.
Yay. And then we have We're All Going to the World's Fair from last year, and then Carter Smith came out with So You See Swallowed yet?
I haven't seen
Oh my god. Well, Carter Smith directed The Ruins. If you remember that.
Yes.
And his new movie is super gay. It's called Swallowed. Has some hotties. Jenna Malone. Too. And then Dutch did The Horror in the High Desert 1 and 2. I don't know if you've seen those, but he's also a big homosexual. So it's pretty fun. We're only like this tiny little club making horror movies.
I know, like when right before the Outwaters premiered, you were giving like sending, or was it you sending the promo boxes? Like I saw people getting.
That was Screambox was sending those out. I helped put together like what should be in them and kind of worked on that with them, but they're the ones that were actually putting them together and sending them out. Yeah.
I wanted to know the guy who plays your brother, what is y'all's actual relationship like in real life? Is he really your brother? No, right? I remember you saying that wasn't your brother.
He's like a brother. He's a close friend. We worked at Greenpeace together for I've known him for 12 years. He's a person I always call when I'm upset about something or need advice, and we hang out all the time. So he's just he's like a brother. So
very cute too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sélah wants his number if you're able to. I'm just kidding. Also, your mom is super supportive of you. I can see that. Has she always been in all of your some of your films or your short films or anything that you've worked on?
Yeah, she's been in a bunch of them throughout my life. I made a couple movies which were totally stupid for fun, but they're called The Spatula Murders. When I was younger, she was in those. She was in, I would say 50% of my, I've made 50 short films. A lot of them dumb. I've been making movies since I was 10, but she was in a good amount of those.
That's so amazing to hear, honestly. My mom's really supportive too. She tries to make it out to every single one of my drag shows, and she's always there trying to hold my suitcases and help me with everything I need. I think we pretty much got everything covered.
Okay.
If there's anything that I wanted to ask you,
what about love advice?
Love it. Okay, there we go.
Love advice.
You said wait, but
love Give me some situations and I'll tell you what to do.
Okay, so in a situation like Card Zero where you feel like you're
Oh,
so clingy and you're kind of spiraling in your head, like
yeah.
how would you or what could you say to others kind of going through the same thing? Like what advice would you give them?
Um, slow the fuck down. Take some breaths. Like
Mhm.
actually, yeah, no, it's all like mindfulness stuff. Like actually, there's a book by Thich Nhat Hanh, The Miracle of Mindfulness, which sounds like really. I'm not a hippie type of person, but like it sounds, but it's just really useful. It's really small. You could just have it. Miracle of Mindfulness by Thich Nhat Hanh. It's just how to kind of, ground yourself a little bit, think a little bit before you're blabbering out a bunch of nonsense and making everything worse. I would recommend reading that. I would recommend sitting down and reading a few pages of that before going to see the person that you're possibly going to spiral in front of.
Love that.
That's my practical advice.
Now,
Yeah.
have you ever been in a situation, and forgive me if it's too personal, where you felt like you really did know someone, um, and I'm speaking from my own experience, and
Mhm.
you slept with them,
Mhm.
you, I'm talking about like slept every night with them, like, maybe even so far as lived with them, and, after a couple of months of spending so much time with them they show you someone completely 180 and they turn on you and betray you. Like how like
No, I haven't had that situation. Mine was more like a situation where I thought something was one thing and then just like up and disappear. With no communication, that kind of thing. So it was just like, wait, what was happening? Like what was like what? But I was being a total like little bitch too, because I also like was too scared to like find out the truth. So I could have like found out by pursuing answers, but you know what I mean? So if you want to be like a mature adult, you just gotta find that shit out and like actually have these conversations, even if you get hurt.
You've been on the receiving end of getting ghosted. Have you ever ghosted somebody?
Uh, well, yeah, but I really like one thing I've done over the past 10 years, because when I was like younger, I was kind of like just figuring all this stuff out. Like, but no, one thing I make it a point to do, if someone like seems interested in me and we're hanging out or we've hooked up a few times and I don't feel it, I just and I can tell that they want more. I'm like, hey, listen, like I don't feel that way. I just tell them I don't feel that way for you. So that's how I put it because it's honest. I don't like leaving people in the dark.
What would
It doesn't-
be the advice that you give to, let's say, like a younger gay person who is starting to date and they don't know so much about getting ghosted or things like, or, even like just dating, like, online dating and stuff like that. What advice would you give to that person?
honestly, say try to just go out in the real world as much as possible and go to gay bars and go to queer spaces and meet people in real life. It's just so much better. I mean, there's a reality to like having to meet people online. So, but like at the same time, I would just tell them to spend a lot of time in your community and try to meet a lot of people in real life. You get to know people a lot better that way than, and it's less depressing than all these
Yeah.
swipes and all
Hmm.
these like waiting to see if the five people you liked you back. It's just so like ew. So yeah, I would say
I've learned that
I have.
recently kind of too that I thoroughly enjoy meeting people in real life spontaneously, someone at the bar that just like y'all just click and y'all start playing pool and then he's like
Yeah,
holding you from behind trying to teach you how to play pool. That just happened recently.
that's so hot. That is so
Yeah.
hot. No, and then you get all the moves, you get the smells, you get the, how
Yeah.
they look at you. You get to, yeah, it's just so much better. So much better. So I would just say don't rely on that even 25%. I would say make your goal to be like if you're trying to meet people, just make your goal to meet like most of your people by being present at events and bars and um, drag shows.
This is Sélah V's Love Hour with
Yes,
Robbie
right. Yeah, I'm
Banfitch.
curious
Yeah.
now.
By the way, I'm like, I think generally I have good advice, but like I'm like, woo. So
Well, see, that's what I was gonna ask. What was your most serious relationship? Like, how long was it, or like, what was the
I
extent?
was in a relationship for 2 years when I basically when I first came out of the closet. I was in college. It was a 2 year relationship. And then I was in a three-way. It was like Vicky Cristina Barcelona. It was like a closed. You've seen that, right?
I haven't, but I've also
Oh,
been in a poly three-way
yeah.
relationship as
It was
well.
a three-way relationship. But monogamous to the three. They weren't like no. But that was like 8 months. Yeah. Other than
Did
that,
it
I mean,
end like terrible? Did it?
no, it didn't end terrible. Just
That's
watch
good.
Vicky
Mine
Cristina
ended
Barcelona.
terrible. My laptop was being thrown across the yard. Girl.
No, like picking my stuff up one night, like after it was like over. I remember like my friend driving me to pick my stuff up, and it was just like sad, but it wasn't like horrible. We didn't like hate each other. But if you see Vicky Cristina Barcelona, which I saw with Joe and Leo, who I was in that relationship with, they were like, "You are Scarlett Johansson, and you're gonna leave us." And I was like, "No, I'm not." And then I did.
Were
Ah.
you the one join? Were like they
I
together? And
joined their
uh-huh.
I joined their long-term relationship.
That's what happened with me too.
Yeah. It was a nice time though. It was interesting, and I loved them. Not I don't it just yeah, it wasn't working for me,
Would you
obviously.
ever do that again? Like, do you?
I don't think so. I'm like a classic. I would like to be with one person who I'm very much in love with and want to fuck all the time, and like, just be with that one person. I like that. And I'm monogamy boy. So, we'll see.
So, Robbie,
Mm,
cut or uncut? I love that.
cut. It's like
Period. That's
whatever.
what I said too.
You can find that info on
I'm gonna have to
Grindr.
leave the chat.
I mean, I'm sure there's like dick pics floating around. Like I've had Grinder forever. Well, I don't have it anymore, but like whatever.
I will keep
Like
a mental note of
someone
that.
actually like someone maybe like 6 months ago tried to blackmail me on Grinder, like that whole scam thing. Where like it's a little scary at first, but they get your phone. They're like, oh, they put these hot pictures up, and then you like exchange numbers. Then they like do a search on your number, and then they sent me pictures of like, Leslie Banfitch is your mother, and she lives here,
Oh
and this
my
is your cousin.
gosh.
And they're like, I'm gonna send your dick pics to your whole family if you don't give us this much money. I was like, bitch, go send them. That's like a good dick pic, and I'm fucking naked in my movie anyway. So bye.
You said those pictures are fire.
No, I was like, go ahead. Like I'm naked in my movie that's coming out. So like enjoy that. And like I wouldn't put out like a dick pic I wasn't happy with. Avi.
Yeah, I've had people do the same thing where they try to blackmail me, especially being like a public figure, a drag performer,
Right.
and it's just weird. People are just weird when they try to pull shit like that.
It's like, go ahead, put out my dick pic. It's like it's a dick.
So you said you don't have Grinder now, but you
No.
have in the past.
Yeah, I mostly have Grinder.
Yeah.
Right now I don't have anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're still coming down. Your movie is still new, so you still have a lot
That's
of.
not yeah, no, that's not why. I just not like just not feeling it right now. Change it could change on the day. You know how it goes. You delete Grinder, you start Grinder, delete Grinder. But
Absolutely.
no, I've been kind of like not doing too much lately. And I also have been busy with movie shit and
Yeah. So before you came out, were you ever in relationships with like a woman, like a biological woman?
oh girl, no.
Oh, see, period.
I was with two.
Oh no. Yeah, no.
It
And I was
was
cesarean section, so I
horrifying.
never even touched a vagina. I
Oh,
came
so
out of a
she's
C-section.
platinum star.
Is that what it's called?
Yes,
Oh,
more than a
yeah.
gold star.
All the points. No, yeah, no. I had like I remember I asked this she's like cool, like we became friends later, but this girl Janelle Wolichko, and I asked her out. I asked her to go steady when we were like in 6th grade. And then she broke up with me the same day because I like ignored her after and I didn't sit next to her on the bus and she broke up with me. That was my my relationship with a woman.
I was in a similar boat. So I was tricked into dating a girl.
Excuse me?
I was literally, I never told you about
No.
this. I was tricked into dating a girl. We were walking down the hall, and my good friend came up with this other girl, and she was like, "Hey, would you ever like go out with one of your friends?" And I was like, "What do you mean? Like, would I go out with one of my friends?" She was like, "Yeah, like, would you go out with them?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess." And she was like, "Okay, well, y'all are dating now." And then I was like, I was like, what? But I couldn't. I didn't consent to this, but I tried to make it work. I was like pretty much out at that time. Like I was already known for being gay. I think I was in eighth grade. Yeah, I was in eighth grade. And same thing, like I was ignoring her or whatever. And we ended up breaking up, I saw her really sad one day, like really sad. And I literally walked the opposite direction.
Yeah,
I was
I feel like I have a similar. I feel like I have a similar memory. We have 1 minute and 30 seconds left.
I think we got a lot of our questions answered.
And we had a
Okay,
whole
well,
love story.
again, just to repeat this seriously, I would recommend getting that Thich Nhat Hanh book. It's The Miracle. I think it's The Miracle of Mindfulness. Really thin, just helps you like do these little meditations, not sitting down like this in kumbaya, just like actually like sitting down. It really does help to like take a look at a few pages of that, like before you go into any situation where you feel like you could act a total fool. So that's my advice.
I'm definitely gonna look that up.
What is it
Put a
called?
link. Put a link in the bio down there.
Yes. What is it called again?
The Miracle of Mindfulness. I'll send you the link.
I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Robbie Banfitch, for joining us. We really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us, and we look forward to watching your future films.
Thanks.